Hello, my name is Mary Ann Dyer, and I'm Program Director of Adult Redeploy Illinois at the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. And I'm here to provide technical assistance to potential applicants to the State Fiscal Year 24 Notice of Funding Opportunity to establish a training, technical assistance, and development program for the Adult Redeploy Illinois network. Throughout this session, there may be a number of acronyms that are used or referred to. AF stands for AmpliFund, which is the Illinois State Government Grant System. ARI stands for Adult Redeploy Illinois. CRA stands for the Crime Reduction Act, which is the enabling legislation for ARI. GATA is the Grants Accountability and Transparency Act, which is legislation that guides and governs the dispersal of state grant funds. GMS is the Grants Management System, or in this case, AmpliFund. CJA is the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, which is the state agency where Adult Redeploy Illinois is housed. NOFO stands for Notice of Funding Opportunity, also known as a Request for Proposal. And TTAD stands for Training, Technical Assistance, and Development. The agenda for this session is that we will talk about Adult Redeploy Illinois, about the NOFO, about AmpliFund, go over the review process, provide some resources, and then let you know how you can get your questions answered during this process. So first, about Adult Redeploy Illinois. Adult Redeploy Illinois is a state grant program that was created by the Crime Reduction Act of 2009. And the intent was to provide state grants to local jurisdictions to increase alternatives to incarceration for probation eligible individuals. We are administered by the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, which is the state agency dedicated to improving the administration of justice. We use performance incentive model, or funding model, and justice reinvestment principles, in that we incentivize what we would like to see at the local level through state grants, and then we intend to reinvest justice dollars earlier into the system where they can have greater impact and cost taxpayers less money. We're a mission-driven grant program, and our mission is to safely reduce prison use by building local systems that divert individuals from a prison sentence into more cost-effective programs that promote their reintegration into the community. We provide funding and technical assistance to communities to establish a continuum of sanctions and treatment alternatives that will effectively address the social determinants of crime and incarceration and promote equity within the justice system. Our goals are to invest in results-oriented local programs that rehabilitate individuals in their community as an alternative to incarceration and prevent their relapse and any future criminal behavior. We also seek to foster a strong, equitable community correction system through access to interventions that target individuals' needs and leverage their assets. We seek to support community-led justice efforts that are consistent with our values and that cost less than incarceration. And we generate and collect evidence in support of decarceration efforts. The current ARI network is comprised of 27 grantee sites around the state, covering 45 counties and operating more than 50 prison diversion programs, such as treatment courts, drug treatment courts, mental health treatment courts, veterans treatment courts, as well as specialized probation caseloads that provide intensive supervision and intensive services. So now about this Notice of Funding Opportunity. The purpose of this funding opportunity is to identify and support one or more entities that will provide grantees in our network with training, technical assistance, and development opportunities that will expand their capacity and effectiveness, not only to deliver those evidence-informed local supervision and services to their clients, but also to help implement the mission, vision, and values of ARI. This funding opportunity supports our strategic goals to build capacity for sustainability, innovation, and effective expansion, and to identify and replicate evidence-informed policies and practices. Eligibility for this funding opportunity is defined as broadly as possible to any public or private entity that can do business with the state of Illinois. We want someone who has experience conducting training and providing technical assistance, plus someone that has the subject matter expertise in topics at the intersection of public safety and public health, serving the adult criminal legal system. The entities can subcontract with others for subject matter expertise to help fulfill the goals of this program. The funds available in this funding opportunity are up to $500,000. The grants range from $100,000 to that cap of $500,000, and we expect to award 1 to 3 grants. The initial award period is a portion of state fiscal year 24, starting March 1st and going through the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, 2024. But through this solicitation, there is the possibility of renewal funding for an additional 24 months. The timeline for this funding opportunity is the Notice of Funding Opportunity was posted November 15th, 2023. The final date for receiving questions from potential applicants, which we answer online, will be December 7th. The application is due at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, December 15th. The Adult Redeploy Illinois Oversight Board will review and approve awards at their meeting in February 2024, and the program period initially runs from March 1st through June 30th, 2024. The program design that we seek will be comprehensive, responsive, and effective. In that, it should have statewide reach, operate on multi-tiers to support the network overall, region by region, as well as at the individual site level, cover a variety of topics, and be complementary but not duplicative to other training and technical assistance efforts available to our sites. It should be responsive in that it fills gaps that are found, and it's based on site input and meets their needs, and is aligned with our mission, vision, and values. We also expect that it will be effective, as demonstrated through assessment and evaluation tools, a continuous feedback loop, and with presentations to our oversight board. Now, the services through this training and technical assistance program will be provided by the entity to our grantee sites, which are local units of government and community-based stakeholders operating prison diversion programs, with the goal to build upon their site capacity and capabilities. The programming will be delivered via an annual all-site summit, regional trainings and workshops, and one-on-one technical assistance and coaching as needed. Additional training, technical assistance, and development functions may include networking or peer sharing activities, convening a training advisory group, and establishing avenues to gather client input from those most impacted by these programs related to the development and improvement of services. Program design is roughly organized in 3 buckets, the first being assess and collaborate. We expect the entities to assess the current landscape, identify gaps in need, substance, and accessibility of training, technical assistance, and development, and do this by contacting other providers and consumers of training and technical assistance. We expect the entity to collaborate with our sites, clients, as applicable, and other providers of training and technical assistance. The second bucket is implementing and evaluating. We expect entities to offer training and technical assistance at different levels to fully serve and meet the needs of our sites. We expect them to provide at least 1 training or technical assistance deliverable each quarter, give or get, provide the training themselves, or work with a subcontracted partner to do it. Topics that have been already identified by our sites include, but are not limited to, cognitive behavioral therapy, fidelity to evidence-informed practices, performance measurement and data analysis, program planning, development, and implementation, racial equity and justice, restorative justice, strengths-based coaching, and trauma-informed practices. We expect the entity to employ a variety of training methods for adult learners, including experiential, like through social simulation exercises, and through use of different platforms, in person as well as virtual and hybrid, in order to provide statewide coverage. Whatever plan is developed must advance ARI's mission, vision, and values, and it should include a continuous feedback loop that is gathering information and input from our stakeholders, community members, and clients if possible, and evaluating changes in those who receive the training's knowledge, behavior, and attitudes. The third bucket is measuring and reporting. And this will, any entity will be required to fulfill all of CEJA's grant requirements that are related to performance measurement and fiscal management, and report on progress and challenges with the program, including with presentations to the Oversight Board. Program requirements reflect these design elements, with a needs assessment and gap analysis, a process to gather input from sites, collaboration with the training advisory group, an implementation schedule with at least one deliverable a quarter, tools to assess and evaluate effectiveness and site satisfaction, performance measurement around goals and objectives, progress reports to the Oversight Board and other stakeholders, and sufficient organizational capacity to meet grant reporting mandates. Other program requirements are larger goals of Adult Redeploy Illinois, including racial equity, and using a racial equity lens and data analysis and training to have racially equitable approach. Per our legislation, all of our funding must be invested in evidence-informed practices proven to work with the populations that we seek to help. Performance and evaluation show us and policymakers that this use of funding is effective and cost-effective. Now, AmpliFund, our grants management system, is the way that these applications will be submitted. So let's talk a little bit about that. There's a pre-qualification steps for any applicant, regardless of funding source or funding opportunity. And these steps include registering with the System for Awards Management and receiving a unique entity ID, updating or verifying the employer identification number, completing registration in the grantee data portal, obtaining a single sign-on for application submission in AmpliFund, and then maintaining good standing with all GATA pre-qualification requirements. There are 2 steps to engaging with AmpliFund, which include that registering in the GATA grantee portal, as well as identifying a single individual as the primary contact for an application to enter into the AmpliFund grant management system. On the CEJA website, under the Grants tab, Training, there's an overview of AmpliFund that will walk you through every step that is referenced earlier. The registration page will look something like this and will include some frequently answered questions. One reminder with AmpliFund, once you get into it, and it will remind you of this often, is to save often. The system times out after 20 minutes of inactivity. So in order not to lose your work, click Save and Continue. So this is what the application will look like once you get into AmpliFund. And included in that are 2 tabs. Initially on the initial landing page opportunity details, which will go through all the overall parameters of this opportunity, and then the evaluation and scoring. This is very important that you review the evaluation and scoring closely, because this will indicate to you how what is valued in this process and how we will determine who receives funding through this funding opportunity. The total number of points which follow along the different parts of the application are 100. And we have established a minimum score of 70 in order to receive funding. A complete application will all be done in Amplifund, and it is comprised of the Uniform State Grant application completed in Amplifund, program narrative, and we'll go through the different sections that relate to the program narrative, a budget and budget narrative, a performance metrics and performance plan and implementation schedule, both which will need to be downloaded from Amplifund, completed, and then uploaded. There are 7 application forms. The Uniform Grant application, which will be completed by the applicant, and the following 6 forms we'll talk about, which comprise the program narrative. As you're completing the application forms, please answer the questions and each individual part of the question. Refer to the program requirements to make sure that you're reflecting what has been established as required by the program, and use the evaluation and scoring as a guide. We expect every applicant to Adult Redeploy Illinois to use person-centered language. This is part of our values. It reduces stigmatization and is counter to rehabilitation and reintegration goals. So we expect the using the words people, individual, and clients, not offenders or felons. So the Uniform Grant application, fill out every section, check the applicant certification, and mark as complete. The second part is the summary of program. You'll want to fill out the narrative section. This is to provide us with a standalone document that includes the applicant name and expertise, a description of past successful projects, proposed training, a strategy for the continuous feedback loop, methodology for assessing efficacy and overall satisfaction, and then a proposed cost for the first initial 4 months of the program. And once these are all filled out with a 5,000 character maximum, mark that as complete. This should be a standalone document that we can use to describe each individual application to external stakeholders. The third part is the statement of the problem. Fill out the narrative section and describe a process you'll undertake to assess the current landscape and identify gaps, and then the efforts that you'll undertake to collaborate with other providers to fill those gaps. Then mark as complete. Reminder, save often so that you don't lose your work. Project implementation is the largest section of the application. Fill out all the narrative sections, provide a detailed outline of the program plan, detail the ways in which sites will be consulted, how the program will align with and advance ARI's mission, and then list the types of assessment and evaluation tools that will be used. Then mark as complete. Part of that will be this implementation schedule that will need to be downloaded, completed, and uploaded. Project management is the next section. Fill out all the narrative sections, provide a detailed account of the applicant's ability to develop and manage this program, describe any proposed subcontractor partnerships, and your organizational capacity to implement the program. Then mark as complete. The next section is goals and performance metrics. Applicants are expected to download, complete, and upload the performance metric tables And by doing that, it will indicate how the objectives will be achieved and measured, and capacity and commitment to measure and report on performance. Then mark as complete. This is the performance metrics chart that you'll be expected to download, complete, and upload. The next section is budget and budget narrative. Review the funding restrictions and then check acknowledgement that you have done so. Mark as complete, and then you will be moved into the budget module. Reminder, save often. The budget module looks a little like this, where you will go in and open up each individual expense line item, fill in cost information, complete the narrative for each line item, complete all applicable line items, and mark as complete. This is what an individual budget line item will look like. So once you are in the budget and budget narrative, you'll want to go through all the sections under the budget tab. Different things to consider include indirect costs, which are allowable and described more fully in the NOFO instructions, what the allowable expenses are and unallowable expenses, any prohibited or controlled expenses, and then of course supplanting. Allowable expenses in this funding opportunity include personnel, training subcontracts or subawards, travel, program supplies, data collection and analysis costs, and program evaluation. Prohibited uses include land acquisition, capital expenditures, and most food and beverage costs. So once all items have been gone through and marked as complete, you'll receive a submission verification. Your application will not be considered as received until you receive this verification. Once again, the scoring criteria is what external reviewers will use in the process to determine on a merit-based in a merit-based way which of the applicants will receive the funding. So the application due date again is 5 o'clock Central Standard Time on December 15th, 2023. All required application materials must be submitted via Amplifund by that time and date to be considered. Proposals will not be accepted by mail, fax, email, or in person, and incomplete applications will not be reviewed, nor will late submissions. And applicants are strongly encouraged to submit all applications at least 48 to 72 hours prior to the deadline to allow time to correct any problems or errors and suffer any technology problems that may occur. So the review process is once we receive everything in from Amplifund, ARI and CJA staff will screen the applications for completeness. Then they will be moved to an expert panel review and scored. As noted, the maximum score is 100 points, and we have established a minimum score of 70 points to be able to be funded. Then these scores and comments from our panel will go to the ARI Outreach Technical Assistance and Communication Committee of the Board for review and establishment of funding recommendations, which will be reviewed and approved by the Oversight Board. There are a variety of resources that are available at the ARI website, including probably most useful in this funding opportunity is at the Program tab, which includes the map of all of our sites and individual site descriptions. The CJA website, as noted earlier, not only has a GATA page, which includes the Amplifund overview and instructions how to register in Amplifund, but also a research hub. So this information will be provided from this technical assistance session in a recording on the CJA YouTube channel. And additional NOFO programmatic requirements will be available on the links and on the CJA website. For any questions that you have during this process, we encourage applicants to submit those questions to our email address for this opportunity, cja.adultredeploynofo@illinois.gov. We'll receive questions through that email address, and that's the only way that we can address questions received. Because this is a competitive process, the questions must be received and answered so everybody can benefit from them. So we cannot take them individually, submit them through this email address. They will be answered, and the responses will be posted at the CJA website as well as on Amplifund. So again, a reminder. In order to apply for this grant, please submit all required materials in Amplifund by 5 p.m. on December 15th and include the Uniform State Grant application, the program narrative by responding to all of those application forms that are in Amplifund, a performance metrics table, an implementation schedule, and the budget and budget narrative. Thank you very much for your interest in Adult Redeploy Illinois.